Welcome. This is another video where you and me will go over an example slide by a top management consulting company. We're going to look at a slide on BCG's website and try to understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, and what we can learn from it for our own presentations. Learning from other top presenters is so important because there are a lot of different styles and contradicting advice. And while some advice is simply wrong, some others are just not very effective. And so it's really important to take matters to your own hands. Think about your own presentation style. Where do you need to learn? What are you good at? What are you not so good at? And looking at some of the slides from top management consulting companies, I believe will be helpful to improve your presentation skills. My name is Felix. I'm a former manager at Bain Company, where I spent over 5 years creating hundreds of presentations and learning myself, but also teaching others how to create better presentations. I hope this video is helpful. Please let me know any thoughts, comments, feedback in the comment section. And I would say let's dive right into it. Similar to my previous video about a McKinsey slide, I went on BCG's website this time and just clicked through some of their insights, their industries, verticals, and I landed on this website here about PMI, post-merger integrations, how they think about it and what imperatives or keys to success they see in mergers. And I want to look at this slide here and review this slide together with you today. Starting off with the title, BCG's 12 Imperatives for Successful PMI. As I said before, the title is really important. So you always want to start with the title and be clear about that slide's message and what you want the audience to take away from this. And by saying here BCG's 12 Imperatives for Successful PMI, it's pretty clear, okay, we're going to learn about the key success factors or imperatives for PMIs, post-merger integrations, and that these are BCGs, that BCG has, through their experience, learned, and they believe that these are the critical ones, these 12. It's a tad descriptive, but I think this slide is less about a strong point of view slide title. It's more about what are the 12 and understanding the framework, how they think about it. The next thing I like a lot about this one is it's a long list of things, right? It's a list of 12 ideas, 12 points they want to bring across. And every time you want to share a long list of things, I would say every time it's more than 3 or 4, you want to think about structuring or clustering these ideas, putting a framework around it. And that's what BCG is doing here. So they're not just throwing the 12 imperatives at you. They're looking at what is a good framework to cluster these. And so what they're doing here is they have 3 columns. First, you set the direction, then you capture value, and then you build the organization. I think it might be a tad sequential, but it could also be in parallel. But the point I want to make here is you want to structure or cluster a long list of ideas of things that you want to share. And then they list all the 12 ideas. It's also nice that each of the buckets has exactly 4, so there's some nice consistency. And then they use coloring to distinguish them from each other, which is also really nice. If I had to critique something on this slide, it would probably be that some of the points are way shorter than others. It would be visually a little nicer if they were like all around 3 to 4 lines. For instance, the first point is only 2 lines, and then the third one is, I think, around 5, which I think is not as clean. You obviously want to first focus on the message. What do you actually want to communicate with each of these points, and then wordsmith it afterwards. And so I think it's fine overall. I think the other thing you could do here is think a little bit about selective bolding. It is a lot of text. So there might be a way of, for each of these 12 imperatives, figure out one word or 2 words and selectively bold them, just to make it a little easier to quickly understand the points, or maybe have a theme at the beginning of it. For instance, the first one is objectives. The second one is program or something like that. And the last point, the 12th, is communicate. just so it's a little easier and quicker to distill and understand the ideas, because it is a lot. Another tactic you could apply here is to think about using icons for each of these 12 imperatives to get each of these ideas down to one simple icon. I think icons are especially helpful for long lists when you're just sharing ideas, when there aren't any charts or other interesting visuals on a slide. And the good thing about icons is they're, number one, they make a slide look better. I think they're beautifying a slide, but then they also help convey the point. So for instance, for point 12, communicate, you could use somebody talking, like communicating. For the first point, objectives, you could use a target or an arrow hitting the target as objectives. That way, it would also help convey each of these points a little quicker. Wrapping up, I think this is a fairly straightforward, simple slide. It's easy to understand the structure of the slide. There are 3 columns, 12 imperatives, and these are the imperatives that BCG thinks are integral for a successful PMI. And then obviously you would want to talk about each of these points and go a little bit more into detail and make sure that you understand them. But overall, pretty nice and simple slide. I hope this was helpful. We just talked about a slide by BCG that we looked up on their website. Learning from it, we learned that it's really important to have a simple structure, especially when you have a long list of 10, 12 ideas you want to share. Structure them, use color to bucket them, to put them in clusters, and then potentially use icons or selective bolding to make the ideas easier to digest and quicker to understand. As always, please let me know any thoughts, comments in the comment section, and I hope to see you in the next video.